Welcome back to your continuing live coverage of CES 2015 on BeTerrific. You're also watching on planet5d.com and a slew of other syndication partners around the globe. Don't forget to download our app, app.beterrific.com. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget you can also chat with us. You can tell us what questions you'd like asked. We're checking the chat. It's an IRC chat. It's under the embedded video on beterrific.com and also on planet5d.com. What's up, Planet 5D'ers? We love you. We are just moving along here. We've got Johan from KEF Speakers, and you guys have some of the coolest speakers in the world, some of the tallest speakers in the world. You have small speakers too. The most important thing is they all sound unbelievable.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, basically, as you can hear from my accent, I'm from England, and KEF was basically born out of the BBC. Some 54 years ago.
So, I mean, did the BBC needed good quality speakers?
No, it's an approach. I mean, I think it's true to say that, you know, for many decades, the BBC's been known for its, let's say, quality of broadcasting. Our founder was a technical...
You know, it's really amazing. I've been a journalist for years, and the BBC has always been the gold standard.
Yeah, it's
worldwide. It's really interesting.
Yeah. One might say understated and whatever, British, but actually our founder was a technical director for the BBC, but mainly, you know, sort of a scientist, but a music lover. And he wanted to have a complete new approach into how to make loudspeakers better, more consistent, with the use of modern materials. In the early 60s, modern plastics materials, etc., to ensure that basically, you know, when you've got speakers coming off a production line, one speaker is exactly as humanly close as possible to the next one. And that was really important in the early 60s, because in '58, we fundamentally, the world was turned on its head as to how people listen to music. Before '58, most people listened to music on one loudspeaker.
Right, it was mono.
Yeah, but stereo became commercially available, and the stereo effect is enhanced if you have two loudspeakers which are very close to each other. I mean, on our top series, we go to absolute extremes. And of course, it's like a finely tuned sports car engine, if you like.
Right. I mean, and they are, and they're. So you start with your line of small speakers, like bookshelf-sized speakers, and you've added wireless connectivity to those.
Yes.
And they sound unbelievable. We've had them on set before.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. You know, I was just walking here to this hall. To CES, and every year, you know, everybody talks about the latest thing, the latest technology, etc., etc., and it's all great stuff. But it's an interesting, real interesting thing to be a loudspeaker manufacturer, because at the end of the day, you know, producing loudspeakers are at the end of a chain, no matter what that chain is. You know, whether you're listening or headphones, they're transducers. They are the things which basically vibrate and move air.
Well, and they're the last thing. They're, you know, you have the whatever's playing the audio.
Exactly.
You have the cabling, and then you could have an amplifier.
Yeah.
You have the cabling, and then you have the speaker, and that's really what the person or people are going to hear. That's the last thing.
It's also a nice place to be, I have to say, because you know, on a system of people who don't know anything about tech, they'll emotionally attach to a loudspeaker the most. It's kind of the most.
Your speakers look beautiful.
Yeah, we paid a lot of attention to design.
Why?
Well, I hate to be sort of corny about it. You know, taking nothing away, there's tons of great sounding products. But basically, there are a whole ton of products out there, very expensive, fabulous sounding, which, dare I say it, you know, the significant other goes, I'm not having that in my room.
Right, I mean, that's,
you know,
that's very true.
And so we try to make elegant, good-looking stuff, which would be pleasing in your home. but it's not just looks for the sake of it. Everything we make, it's a loudspeaker and it has to work acoustically. So
you talk about total room transformation, and is that correct? You're talking about figuring out how to make the room right for the speakers.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's in a way there's no fooling the laws of physics. One of our main technologies is, which we came out with some over 20 years ago, is what is called a point source technology. It's basically all frequencies come from one point in space and time, just like when we speak. A normal speaker has, tweeters, woofers. We don't have one, we don't have two mouths, one little mouth and one big mouth. It'd be kind of weird.
Right.
So it's basically a dynamic transducer which spreads the sound very wide and very even and presents a very, very coherent picture to any environment, which is a room.
I've gotten a chance to listen to the huge ones. What are they called? I forget, but they're
the blades.
Huge. The blades, yes.
Oh yeah, they become quite an icon for us.
and they're expensive. They're about $35,000.
They're $30,000 a pair.
$30,000 a pair
in their standard finish, 30 to 35, which is a whole bunch of money. Of course, I mean you can buy a very decent car for that. But it's for music lovers. Matter of fact, in the US here, we're just showing off the Blade 2 for the first time, which is a slightly scaled down blade.
Very nice.
Which is more easy to control in more modest sized rooms because the blade is huge.
Yeah, huge.
But
they're taller than me. not that I'm tall. I'm not going to pretend that I'm tall for a second.
The Blade 2 are exactly the same principle, exactly the same attention to detail. It's scaled down, and they're about 75% of the price. So there's a logic to our range. Whether you spend $800 on a pair of Kefs or silly money, let's say like 30 grand, there is a Kef sound. Which is consistent.
It really is, and it's really great. Talk about the wireless speakers and how you're able to achieve great sounding quality over Wi-Fi and wireless.
Well, our first wireless speakers, we were arguably late to the game. There's thousands of these products out there, and so what we wanted to do is really put our hallmark of acoustics on it. And for want of a better word, over-engineer them. Basically, they feature all sorts of things which are well known to audiophiles, which benefit the sound. Things like we use Class AB amps, massive toroidal transformer. That's usually found in more upscale hi-fi, and we build it into the loudspeakers. They work wirelessly. A lot of wireless products, a lot will work with, say, your iPhone, and a lot will work with Android. It's either or. We've built in both. They work both in AirPlay, which is the Apple system, or DLNA, which is the other system. So we kind of over-engineered and tried to make them really, really premium.
It's really, really great stuff. The speakers sound great. Will you say hello to my friend Dippin for me?
Oh, it certainly will do. Yeah, I'm sure he'd like to be out here. Hi, Dippin.
I'm sure he would too. Thank you so much. It's been great to have you on. I think everybody's got to check out the Kef speakers and the entire Kef line. It's kef.com?
Very easy, KEF.com.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for joining us and telling us these great stories about how the company came together and all that stuff.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Cheers.
I'm Michael Artsis. We'll be back with a whole lot more from CES Live 2015 on BeTerrific right after this. This is the Las Vegas Convention Center, Las Vegas, Nevada.